Jai. Anu Prabhu, please give the introduction on what we're studying, discussing.
This is Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj on his anniversary. This is the fourth Vasishta, continuing from the previous one. So Nana Prabhu, can we discuss it? All these are not our master's teaching methods. These are the things done by the past Goswamis.
Yes. The caste Goswamis are simply running rituals according to their family traditions and the traditions of their religious institutions or temples of various types. And they are operating within that context. They are not transcendentalists. They are people trying to maintain the status quo of the Dharma, but unfortunately the Dharma in this age is gone. The type of Dharma caste Goswamis want to do no longer exists, because ever since Lord Chaitanya made it clear that all religious practices have become useless. So the caste Goswamis are doing religious practices and which have become useless. The only Dharma left is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and that is the only way. Everyone can do it, and that you're not restricted by caste, creed, or color, nothing. But the chanting is the Dharma for this age. So whatever the caste Goswamis are doing is from the past. It's from the tradition started before Lord Chaitanya, and they keep continuing it because families like to have their Brahmins in the house and stuff like that. I stayed with the Agarbatiwalas in Mysore, and they had caste Goswamis in their house to do various things, including just keeping the energy level nice by mystical psychic means. So that's not the purpose that we're looking at here. We're looking at actually developing real Krishna consciousness after Lord Chaitanya. So the caste Goswamis cannot do that, and they simply are in the way of our movement, which can do it. Unfortunately, our movement has become a little sluggish in terms of fulfilling the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's mission. And that will have to come about through revelation. We will show, and people will make it possible for everyone to see what is the missing parts of this Krishna consciousness practice. The missing parts must be dealt with. Otherwise, I think you'll see the next shloka. Now, I don't have.
Ramachandra Prabhu, can you go to the Vasishta Ashtakam?
You are in control now.
Where can I find it? Vasishta Ashtakam?
Let's see. Hold on. I'm sharing it now again.
No, tell me where, but I'll share it.
Oh, this is the link. I'll send it to you. Let's continue the discussion. I'll send it to you.
Sure.
On WhatsApp. There you go.
But just take a look at the miserable condition that's arisen. Everyone has become a sense enjoyer and has abandoned preaching. It's muted, Prabhu. Your mic is muted. Nana Prabhu. You're muted, Prabhu. Nana Prabhu, your mic is muted.
Yeah, I just turned it back on. Everyone has become a sense enjoyer and has abandoned preaching. So that is what happens when you are on the Kanista Adhikari platform and there is no forward motion in progress. There has to be the impetus of going forward. Without that impetus of going forward, then we sink down to becoming a sense enjoyer. And what do? Oh, we enjoy eating gulab jamuns. We enjoy eating Mahaprasad. We enjoy being with each other's company. We enjoy seeing this Swami or that Swami and talking, and we enjoy meeting these different devotees and associating with them, imagining that that is spiritual practice. But it is actually not spiritual practice. That is sense enjoyment only, and it is disguised. So we read last night and understood last night that the, what shall we say, that the devotional creeper is developing. The minute we come in contact with the holy name, our devotional creeper begins to develop. But there are anarthas. There are undesirable creepers that also can take root and grow. And Prabhupada just says that we have to take them and chop them out radically and quickly before they can take much root. In other words, just like a garden full of vegetables or flowers, if the weeds are growing, you have to cut the weeds out before they become more powerful than the plants that you wanted to have. There.
So in chanting Hare Krishna and these activities that is prescribed in the scriptures by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we should be very introspective about our desires, right? And making sure.
Yes, because the chanting Hare Krishna is the process of the devotional creeper developing.
Right.
The positive devotional creeper. But, and go ahead, elaborate on your point.
For example,
very, very good point.
Example, we're seeing our ISKCON movement being degraded, and and if we chant Hare Krishna and we harbor ill feelings towards our initiators, it can have a negative effect on our Krishna consciousness also, right?
Well, of course, but not just initiators, but you get the idea of wanting to enjoy yourself in sense enjoyment.
Right.
Because remember, that's the previous 32 is about sense enjoying and abandoning preaching. So, but preaching means authentic preaching, not just saying things to attract the crowd so they'll come and join the temple or make a donation.
Yes. So, in that sense, the transparent Vaya medium, Srila Prabhupada's Vani and his instructions, we should be acting on that platform.
Well,
transparent by, otherwise,
approaching that, and that is what this Devotees is for, is to draw us to that platform and away from the political or sense gratification or social life only aspects. Because you get some people together, they immediately start creating a little cozy relationship with each other or dislike for each other. But you get my point, which is that people get in the temple and say, oh, there's so-and-so. Oh, what did you do today? What are you thinking about? And it gets down to a horizontal conversation, which is supposedly not to be allowed. When I first came to the temple, nobody would talk about anything inside the temple. You had to go outside the temple to discuss anything practical.
Wow.
You couldn't talk in the temple about anything, matter of fact actions. You could only offer obeisances or discuss Krishna Katha.
Very high standards, huh? Wow. I mean, now everything goes on inside the temple.
Well,
Music,
this was 1968.
yeah, all kinds of music, all kinds of sense gratification, allurements.
What do you mean by all kinds of music?
People chant for, their girlfriends, trying to attract people. Uh, uh, you know,
Oh, you mean
Prajal,
kirtan
yeah,
melodies?
kirtan
Yeah, Kirtan
melodies,
melody.
Prajalpa,
Okay. They're not playing the hit parade in the temple, right?
yeah.
They're no. Your son's excited to be coming to see his mom, I bet.
Okay. Okay, go
Yeah,
on.
yeah, you got it. Devo.
Now the temple doors also are starting to be locked. Go and preach this Bhagavata Dharma. Don't delay any longer.
Yeah, so Prabhupada is obviously juxtaposing the fact that the people are abandoning preaching and becoming sense gratifiers. When I first went to Vrindavan, I went to the Radha Damodar temple and other temples. I could see that there were people in like little tables or booths on either side as people came in, usually chewing pan with big red lips. And they were simply trying to attract the people to make donations and things like that. There was no preaching at all, zero preaching. And that's the temple where Prabhupada had been living. So saying the temple doors are starting to be locked means that the people can't go into the temple and talk about Krishna. And ISKCON has been like that for quite a while, that the getting into the temple is very restrictive, whereas like the temples, a lot of the temples in India, the temples are very open. You can go in. There's no problem there. In Dwarka, Dwarka temples, very open. What?
The temples are restrictive in the West, in the sense?
I'm sorry?
The temples are restrictive in what sense?
The temples in India?
He's saying that the temples in Los Angeles that you were talking about, is it restricted? Yes, it is, Bhanu Prabhu. The COVID-19 has shut down all the ISKCON temples.
Oh, yeah,
At least
not restricted, completely closed.
completely closed, just like here.
With a big sign saying COVID-19. And I go there and people say, "What? You can't go in the temple?" I said, "No. The devotees here have considered, based on the depth of their faith and realization."
But this is not talking about. Talking about COVID-19.
The COVID-19 is more powerful than Krishna. And that's what I say to people who come to want to see in the temple. I said the temple authorities, the temple people here, have considered that COVID-19, their thinking is that COVID-19 is more powerful than Krishna. Because there's a million things they could do to continue the worship, including bringing deities out on the front of the temple so people could socially distance outside. But they don't.
But other things like the sports matches, are they going on in the stadiums? The temples are closed.
The what?
Sports activities in the stadiums, sports matches, the
karmis, you mean? Devotees or karmis?
The sports stadiums, sports activities, are the people getting in the stadiums, I'm saying.
Bhanu Prabhu is saying, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bhanu Prabhu is saying all these karmi sports are going on, football, basketball.
Yes.
Soccer,
Well,
these things are going on.
They're going through a lot. I mean, but it is open. They are performing. Yeah, people want to see sports. That's their mentality. Like dogs like to chase a ball. So if there's a ball being tossed around in the field, all the dog-like mentality of the people wants to see the ball and where does it go.
So if they are allowing for sports, so they should be allowing for the temples also.
Well, the Christian churches are fighting like tooth and nail to be open. But ISKCON stays closed. At noon, they open the front doors of the temple, and you can go up there and have darshan of the deity from outside the temple, gazing forward to the temple, but to the altar. But that's not very, what you call it, that's not very, in-depth worship. Just have darshan and buy some Mahaprasad and go away.
Okay. Next
Yeah.
one. Within this earth, there is another earth whose sound is unequal, penetrating force.
The what?
Within this earth, there is another earth whose sound is unequal, penetrating force.
Which we do not know what that other earth is. It's sort of interesting that he says that because there's the hollow earth philosophy, and Aleister Crowley was talking about hollow earths and that there's all sorts of creatures inside the earth. But we don't know what he's talking about here, I don't think. Does anyone have any idea? Does anyone know? Within this earth, there's another earth.
hollow earth.
I've never heard of. I don't know. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, what does he mean by that? What's the esoteric meaning behind this?
Yeah, but we went over all of these shlokas yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we're getting down to the Bengali proverb, the mullah runs just as far as the mosque.
Hollow, yes.
So should we move down a bit?
Yeah.
Sure.
Who's controlling the text?
Ramachandra.
Oh, down or up?
Down now.
No, this is good.
That's right.
Okay,
This is good. Number 36. Up to,
35.
go ahead. Manu, can you read
35,
number 36?
35. It's 35. There is a Bengali proverb. The mullah runs just as far as the mosque and no further. But an end to this false preaching today.
Yeah, well, the Bengali proverb is probably based on Lord Chaitanya because the mullah runs as far as the mosque and no further, but the followers of Lord Chaitanya in Bengal go out into the streets chanting. Is our Bengali Prabhu still with us today or not?
It's not there. Yeah. He might join. You're muted, Prabhu. Mic is muted.
How many people were invited for tonight?
I think everyone is invited. Share the link in the group also.
Everyone was invited. Yeah.
You contacted everyone?
Yes, we have a WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group that we have everyone's contact there, and we send the link. Yes.
Okay.
Everyone got the link.
Because our Bengali friend is not on right now, but maybe he had to go to work already. Mr.
Please send
Ghosh.
it to Amya Ghosh Prabhu and Bhakta Ananda Prabhu.
Amir Ghosh.
Yes.
Okay, let's keep on going on the shlokas systematically.
Up to the borders of the seas all over the earth, pierce the walls of the universe, all assembled together preach the transcendental vibration.
Ah, I think practically, if I may say so, that is the
You need to unmute yourself. Muted.
is the text still up? Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. That I think could be practically our motto for the League of 10,000 years, League for 10,000 years, Golden Age of the Golden Age of Kali. Because up to the borders of the seas, all over the earth, pierce the walls of the universe, all assembled together, preach the transcendental vibration. So that really is the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and needless to say, the best proponent of that has been Srila Prabhupada. But it got taken over and squished down into a small thing. And as a result, the gloriousness of preaching and chanting and dealing with others on the platform of Krishna consciousness has basically almost evaporated. It says, all assembled together preach the transcendental vibration. Well, that for me will be World Sankirtan in auditoriums, in big stadiums. Up to the borders of the sea, pierce the walls of the universe. That means, basically, I think that Prabhupada is stating that we are going to be here for 10,000 years preaching and delivering the fallen souls. Because to pierce the walls of the universe takes manpower and it takes time. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to say something to that one?
All assembled together preach in
Okay.
transcendental
If
vibration.
not, then if no one wants to say anything, then go on to 37.
Then our master's worship will be in proper order. Today make your firm promise. Give up your political play.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Because we can see everything in the Falgun Krishna Panchami is redirecting the brain power and heart power and jiva power of Prabhupada's godbrothers to the standard given to all of them in that assembly that's listening. Prabhupada wrote it and they're all listening. That standard is Bhaktisiddhanta's transcendental standard. So with that extreme practice of Krishna consciousness of number 36, when we get to 37, then Prabhupada says that will be in proper order. That means practically madness of chanting is the proper order. And he said, today, make your firm promise, give up your political play. Well, let's think for a moment. Political play means kinesta adhikari, no? Would you agree? Anyone agree? Hello?
Political play, I think it's sometimes it's not even for Kanishta Adhikari.
That's kinesta adhikari, no? Because political play cannot exist on a higher platform.
Right.
It can exist on a lower platform than kinesta adhikari, and it's surrounding us wherever we go, political play. But it cannot be transcended by the kinesta adhikari.
Definitely not. They'll create more and more of these types of institutions and rules and regulations and all that.
Meaning?
Bodily conception, more bodily conception, more and more.
Oh, you mean give up the political play? That's what that means? Well, yes, because politics is playing patty cake. Politics means I talk to you, you talk to me. I talk to you, you talk to me. You pat my shoulder, you shake my hand, you pat my shoulder, you offer pronounce. Yeah, that's all political play, meaning I'm trying to make a horizontal deal in a vertical process. Krishna consciousness is not horizontal. It cannot be. So anybody in the Kanista platform who's still horizontal has to work hard to advance, because otherwise he will simply remain Kanista Adhikari forever. But to speak of, oh, well, I go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Well, no, you'll die and you'll take another birth to be a Kanista Adhikari, making the same mistakes each time until the mistakes are rectified. Look at Shravan's wife is from a different culture, but she's very determined to utilize the principles of Krishna consciousness and has done so in her life, even though she was from a Catholic background, but possibly got married out of duty, a sense of duty.
She's a powerful woman, to say the least.
I don't have never met her, but I've talked to her many times on the phone in the past.
Yeah.
She is a bit Krishna conscious.
Are we ready?
Muted, Prabhu. Mic is muted again. Okay. Mic is muted. Last one.
Nanan Prabhu, your microphone is muted.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I touched it. Although I used to touch it sometimes, it would mute. Okay, so number 38.
Scroll a bit down.
Is good?
Sure.
On this very day, coming together, make your comment. The five of you together and decide what must be done. Interesting.
That's very interesting, no? Because he's saying, when he says make your comment, he really is saying make your commitment. Decide what must be done. He's asking them to commit. Of course, covenant and commitment are the same Latin root.
Okay. So Vashish Prabhu has come in.
Okay, nice. Haribol.
Aye, Prabhu.
So he says the five of you together and decide what must be done. He's goading them because they're not going to decide anything that must be done. I mean, they're completely lost in the woods, as he's describing up to this point.
Okay.
So what he's saying, he knows will not happen. They won't do it. But he also knows that we tonight will be reading this document and we can do it. So make your comment, the five of you together. I think comment means commitment. The five of you together and decide what must be done. Well, that's what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
A few years later. This is what, 1961 or 59?
Yes.
61?
1961.
Okay, 61. That's 40 years ago.
Right.
No, it's
more than 40 years ago.
60 years ago, right?
Yes.
No.
2021. Yes.
50 years ago? 60 years ago.
60.
Yeah. 40 would take us up to 2000 and add 20.
Right.
So 60 years ago.
Wow.
About 55 years.
We're finally beginning to utilize the shloka after 60 years has taken place. He's talking to them, but
You
when he's talking to them, it is a symbolic act. He knows they're not going to do anything. He knows they're not going to say anything, but he needs a platform on which to establish our movement. He needs a platform on which to establish the League for 10,000 Years of Golden Age of Calling. He needs to establish that. And that's how he's doing it 60 years ago, because he knew we would be doing this. And I'm not jumping to any conclusion. Srila Prabhupada knows past, present, and future. He is the external representative of Paramatma. So he knew, he is well aware of our meeting right now. And he is encouraging us to pick up the principles of this Vasista so that we know how the importance of what we're doing and to continue to do it to perfection. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, yes.
Okay, next one.
Then he gets sort of, okay, go ahead.
Wait, Bhanu, wait. No, bro, you were going to finish. You were going to make some more comments. You mentioned the point that Srila Prabhupada mentions this and knowing that they will not do anything. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but he did write it knowing that we will do something.
Right, right.
We're not his god brothers, but they were just like you make, you take a photograph life size and cut out and you stand it up and it looks like a person, but it isn't. It's just a cardboard cutout. So he was dealing with his god brothers as though they were real, but they were actually just cardboard cutouts. So was he? The big question would be: here's an Uttamadakari. Is he wasting his time talking to his god brothers? Is he wasting his time?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, is he wasting his time?
Go ahead. You have something to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, my experience has been here in Sacramento. I was working with the devotees in Sacramento, but I was always pushing forward to bigger and greater things, but it never caught any traction with them. I was frustrated. I was like, there are like 20, 30 people. Why cannot we move this thing to the next gear? Let's do something big, let's do something nice. But every time, everything stalled. Everything stalled, and only thing that happened was groups came up. This group came up,
yes,
like breakaways, so
because they didn't.
It was frustrating for me.
They didn't read the Vasistas, did they?
No, they'd never read these things.
Right.
I mean, these things that we've been discussing, I never even knew until we started discussing and doing deep, research and reading up on Srila Prabhupada's, wonderful nectarian Vyasa Puja offerings. I never knew about this until our conversation started. So it's the right
well, here we are. Well, you see, we're being directed by Krishna from within.
I can see that definitely.
The point. So when Prabhupada, the five of you together, and make your commitment. The five of you together and decide what must be done. So Srila Prabhupada knew exactly that they were not going to do that, but he wrote it down, and we have a copy in our hands or on the screen. But we can fill up a physical copy of it now, 60 years later. So let's look at that. Decide what must be done. So he's calling on all of us. He's calling on them. We got to make it abstract, not what do you call it, indirect, but it's in the direct sense. He's talking not just to them, but to us, knowing that they will do nothing, knowing that we will if we get the right all the ducks in a row.
Right.
We get ourselves together.
So Vasisht Prabhu wants wants to comment. Yeah, go on, Vashishtha.
Hare Krishna, Narayan Prabhu, Hare Krishna, all
Jai.
devotees.
Jai.
Hare
Right.
Krishna.
My
Actually,
obeisances to you.
no, actually, it's mine. Actually, it's mine. Actually, to hear you, very senior disciple of Prabhupada, talking and enlightening us. Okay, other devotees also about this offering of Prabhupada in 1961. Actually, I commented when I think Ronald Prabhu when he posted that I commented something about this poems. Okay, not poems, but offering by
Go
Prabhupada.
ahead.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
it's
Make your
like
valued
you were saying,
comment.
like you were saying, Prabhu. Prabhupada, he knows the past, he knows the future, he knows present and all. He knows that they won't. His god brothers won't be helping him or won't be. They won't what to say. They won't cooperate. Actually, they won't cooperate. Prabhupada knows that, and as an acharya, he's setting the example how we should be doing it. And you will see. I don't know. I've come late. Maybe you have already said this point. Like since 1936, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur disappearance till 1961, right? I don't know how many years it makes. Maybe all 66 when he will establish SCON. Okay, this encapsulates the mood about how Prabhupada was feeling at that time before setting up SCON, before going to the West to preach, okay, and mainly you are doing this now. Maybe later you can do something about the Markine Bhagavad Dharma, the the poems that
Yes.
Prabhupada wrote. Yeah,
That's
maybe
next on our
next
list.
time.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's next on our list.
yeah. Yeah, if you do this, that will be all the devotees here who are listening to
Are
you.
you talking about the Braha Astika?
No, I don't know. It's called Markine Bhagavad Dharma. You know, in Science of Self-Realization, there is Prabhupada has maybe Runal Singh Prabhu, Ram Singh Prabhu knows what I'm saying.
Yes, I know that progress.
Yeah, before boarding or before landing on New York, actually, before landing in New York, he wrote that on the ship Jalduta. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, this poem I'm saying. So these two things encapsulate the mood of Prabhupada, right? The fire, the compassion that he had for the suffering humanity, and the instruction, how Prabhupada was feeling, how he wanted to carry out the order of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and
yes.
the level of tolerance, patience he had along with his god brothers. The five devotees, the five sannyasis that you're mentioning, actually they were considered to be the leading disciples, the leading sannyasis of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? I think Sridhar Maharaj was in, and I don't know the other name. Okay, maybe Puri Maharaj or Bhakti Vikas Swami and other the name are not in my mind right now. Okay, these leading disciples, these leading sannyasis, they were kind of in charge. Okay, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur message to all of them, to the Gaudiya Math, was to form a GBC, work together. With time, a self-effulgent acharya will emerge. But Prabhupada was again trying to, after 30 years, almost 30 years, he's trying again to tell them the same message. Focus on this message of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Don't just, I think later it will be said, don't just initiate, okay? Don't initiate, don't. The idea is that you all have to work together, okay? With time, a self-effulgent acharya will emerge, okay? But what these leading disciples were doing, leading sannyasis, they were just nominating. They were nominating among themselves, okay, who will be the next acharya? And it was proving to be a failure each and every time. So they disobeyed. That's why Prabhupada will mention in a letter to Rupanuga, to his disciple, in I think 28th April 1974, I think. Very elaborately, Prabhupada explains this to his disciple. I think he was a GBC. You must be knowing him, Prabhu. Rupanuga. He was a GBC member at that time. Okay, and even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada nicely explains in his books, because whatever Prabhupada taught in his letters or lectures, he must have said it in the books, and it is there in the books in Chaitanya Charitamrita about how the leading disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur disobeyed the order of their spiritual master, okay, and how the movement became a failure. And Gaudiya Math, only Prabhupada can say that Gaudiya Math was a failure, okay, no one else, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also knew
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's instruction to Prabhupada was to go to the West and preach the message of Krishna over there.
Yeah. No, actually, what I was trying to say, only Prabhupada can say what the Gaudiya. Only
The Gaudiya Math, excuse me, the Gaudiya Math was not a failure. The Gaudiya Math was a predecessor to ISKCON, and it established the purity of the preaching of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as the example of what Prabhupada took to America, never mind who was initiated by Bhaktisiddhanta. Whoever was initiated by Bhaktisiddhanta.
Let me finish. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Babu. Let me finish what I had to say. Actually,
okay, go ahead. I'm just putting my comment in the middle of what you said. Go ahead.
What you're saying is true. Actually, ISKCON is a successor of that Gaudiya Math. Yes, which I agree. Why I'm saying that only Prabhupada can say that Gaudiya Math is a failure and no one else. Okay, even today you'll find many devotees in mainstream, they will say, okay, Gaudiya Math was a failure. No, we can't say that. It's very stupid on our part to say that, actually, because this is all a leela, a transcendental leela, actually. Yeah, this is a leela of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, right? And his few devotees like Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur and between.
No, I could, if I may say, I consider that the Gaudiya Math was a success because my observation and collecting information is that the purpose of the Gaudiya Math was to collect all of the potential rascal gurus who would have their own little ashrams, their own little movements, gather them all together, 60,000 of them, and to make them into disciples so that they would have their fangs, their teeth pulled out, so they couldn't bite Prabhupada when Prabhupada came to India with his disciples.
Yeah. It is this
actually. Prabhupada was the success of the Gaudiya Math in one sense.
Exactly. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, okay, if I create only one pure devotee, my mission is a success. And that one pure devotee, we all know who he is, right? He's Prabhupada. That's Prabhupada. That one. You must be knowing that, actually. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that, okay, if I create only one pure devotee, my mission is a success. So Gaudiya Math is a success, right? Gaudiya Math is successful. And only person who can say that Gaudiya Math is a failure, it's only Prabhupada, no one else.
Yes, right? I agree with you, but in a sense, it's not the most vital thing to be knowing, because the Gaudiya Math did not go out and preach in every town and village, and Prabhupada did go out and preach in every town and village. You're right, if you can produce one success, the whole thing is a success, but that's like an honorary thing. You can put a nice big red rose garland on its neck, but it doesn't change the fact that the Gaudiya Math people did, and I was there at the time, did everything they could to stop Prabhupada.
In everything they could what?
They did everything in their power to stop Prabhupada.
I'm sorry, but there was some noise. There was some noise actually around me. I couldn't hear you properly. Can I beg your pardon?
Here we go. That the Gaudiya Math took every means to try to prevent Prabhupada's success in India. They gathered together. They even cursed him. They did everything they could to stop his preaching. So in that sense, he may have been a success, but it was not because of his godbrothers. It was because of his spiritual master, who gathered those people together just to keep them out of Prabhupada's way when Prabhupada started preaching. Can you imagine what would happen if you have dozens of Vivekanandas all over the place in India? So they all joined with Bhaktisiddhanta because of his. The way I caught on to that was very easy, because Bhaktisiddhanta, Thakur Bhaktivinoda talks in such a way that any good-hearted human being can understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
in terms of words, not necessarily in terms of the deeper content. But in terms of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, nobody could understand what he was saying. It was so complicated and prolix. That language, I'm certain, it was to attract the pseudos, all the pseudo gurus, pseudo students, pseudo yogis, pseudo everything. They came because they couldn't resist trying to figure out what he was saying. And he was speaking in so complex, he was not a top mathematician, that an astrologer. So if he was able to confuse them, not confuse them, but hypnotize them into his movement, it didn't matter that they preached or didn't preach. They were out of Prabhupada's way as long as they were in the Gaudiya Math, and eventually they mostly either left or died off. So there was very few left when I got to India in 1972. And they were blood-curdlingly against Prabhupada.
Prabhu, can I add something?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, what you're saying, Prabhupada was very, very much discouraged by his god brothers. Like you're saying, Prabhupada Prabhupada said at that time also that ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness Movement that he founded, any external thing cannot obstruct, hinder the growth of this movement. Okay, it's only from within. So the same thing happened with Gaudiya Math. Okay, and Prabhupada says we shouldn't repeat the same mistake. Okay, it was a lesson for us actually, Gaudiya Math.
Because consider this: the Gaudiya Math, even with our bogus GBC, unelected GBC, that GBC and the bogus Kanista, Ritvik gurus that Prabhupada appointed, initiators, yes. Well, he appointed, to be Ritviks to initiate in his behalf, because they were concerned that there were so many devotees and no one could initiate them. And they were, of course, hoarding those devotees because they wanted a big stockpile of 1,000 or so people, so that when Prabhupada did leave, with the encouragement of the poison they were giving him, that these Ritviks would become regular gurus and then divide up all the uninitiated people that they were supposed to initiate in behalf of Prabhupada. Does it make sense?
Can I add something?
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah. Actually, when Prabhupada said that we should not repeat the same mistake, the mistake was, but we should take the orders of the spiritual master as our life and soul. Okay, that was the instruction that Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left for Gaudiya Math followers, was that you form a GBC, work together, work combinedly, and later one self-effulgent Acharya will emerge. The one who is more successful, he will be the next, he will be the successor kind of. He will be my successor. That was instruction. But Prabhupada's instruction, okay, for ISKCON followers, okay, for his disciples of ISKCON followers, was that you have to, that Ritvik system of initiation has to be maintained. There will be no, even one is an Uttamadikari, even, very, very, Mahabharata will come in ISKCON tomorrow. He has to accept Prabhupada only as a Diksha Guru, and that person has to spread the message.
Exactly.
That is the thing. That is the thing.
Well, the ISKCON wanted to copy the Gaudiya Math by taking a bunch of people over Kanista Adhikaris and make them into gurus.
No, but that's a mistake that they're doing.
Work. It didn't work with the Gaudiya Math, but they thought it would work with ISKCON.
That's the mistake that our mainstream ISKCON devotees are doing. But Prabhu, there's one thing I want to tell, because I don't have much time. Also, maybe another 1-2 minutes. I'll just share my thing, and I hope that you will upload this video.
I really like your points, by the way.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Actually, I really like what you're saying. So go ahead.
Actually, whatever you
right on
whatever
target.
you are here. whatever you are hearing me saying, okay, I've learned from my Siksha gurus, okay, from my seniors, mentors from ISKCON Bangalore, okay. They were the one who has fed me everything. Actually, I'm nothing without them, okay. And what I was saying, yeah, actually, the lesson, okay, the main lesson what we can take from Prabhupada's, okay, from his 1961 teachings, okay, like the poem that we are doing, okay, it was his tolerance, like humility, his humility and tolerance, the cooperative service, subordinate service attitude, mood that he had towards his god brothers, okay. But for me, that's my opinion, okay. And even I've heard some senior devotees saying that Prabhupada was very, very patient, tolerant, humble, okay. He is a perfect example, actually. Well, how to, if only we had this tinge of what to say qualities, but Prabhupada is exhibiting right now, okay. Maybe our movement will reach another height, okay. But thing is, like you're saying, like what the people, the persons who are listening to you, who are in this group, okay, what can we do, what are we supposed to do? But I tell you frankly, Prabhu, there are many devotees out there, many Prabhupada Nugas, okay, just like you, okay. I don't know about your god brothers, like Prabhu Gargamuni, Prabhu. There's in Facebook I've seen many devotees, actually senior devotees like you, okay, who are preaching this Ritvik philosophy, okay. And why don't you all combine together? All who are in America, you have to do something to join together, okay. But it is a force. That's the strength, actually. Unity is strength, right? Unity is a strength. Actually, there are many Ritviks, Prabhupada and Ugas out there in many parts of the world, actually. So in
You're
your
muted,
local
Prabhu.
area, just try to meet together, see what preaching can be done. Those in India, I don't know where you are staying, where you Prabhus are staying. I'm sure there must be some local centers there out there. So just join them. If any Ritvic thing is there, just join them. Or if you find it difficult to go to mainstream
Narayan
devotees,
Prabhu, you're muted.
okay. Huh? I'm sorry.
Yeah. He was
If you find it
muted. He
difficult,
was speaking.
if you find it difficult to associate with mainstream devotees, okay, fine.
I'd like to comment on this.
Yes,
Prabhupada,
tell me.
in his direction of management, he called the 12
Yeah,
people, he named them as executors.
yeah,
Executors, what I understand is who are going to execute his instructions.
yes,
Therefore, he called them as executors. That is the right word.
yeah.
The 12 executors. So, Narayan Prabhu. That's what I wanted to comment. Go on, Prabhu.
I would like Bhanu is okay. Tell me. Narayan Prabhu is there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Ritvik people, or people called Ritviks, are not Ritviks because they have never initiated anybody. If all the people that claim to be Ritviks initiated in behalf of Prabhupada, there would be 10,000, 20,000 disciples initiated by Ritvik priests. But there aren't
No,
any.
actually, okay. No,
Where
actually,
are
last
they?
time Prabhuji, I talk about this point. When generally I said Ritviks, okay, it's true. In the real sense of the word, okay, Ritvik means officiating priest, the one who will initiate on Prabhupada's behalf. It's okay.
Yeah.
The powerful one, the one.
He's like a pujari.
Yeah, a very responsible one. Okay, very responsible one who will what to say? He will give a name of initiates, name of new initiates. He will send beads, or he will chant on the Gayatri mantra, and then he will recommend. Yeah, the recommendation, actually, what the president of any center they have to forward it to the, they have to get the recommendation from the Ritviks, okay, so that initiation can happen. But
Well,
that is
I'm not
true.
so. How do you know that's true?
What?
Well, why do you have to get the recommendation
but
from the
but
Ritvik? The Ritvik is simply a priest, a officiating priest, like a
no.
pujari is not the
See,
deity.
Babu, I'm sorry, but as per, I don't have the 9th July letter right now, okay? But according to that, the temple president just cannot initiate on his term. He has to ask permission from that person, from that Ritvik, from these Ritviks, okay? But okay, is it see
The
because
Ritvik
this
simply performs the Agnihotra sacrifice. He has no other role, has no other purpose. He's not a guru of any type. He's just a
yeah
priest
yeah
that lights the fire and
okay.
chants the mantras of Bhavitra,
I'm,
Bhavitrava, like that.
I'm not
He does that
wait.
service, but he's not a guru or advisor or anything. He's a priest. Just like when you do an Anaprasana ceremony, or any time you do a Shraddha ceremony, the person performing it is a Ritvik.
I'm sorry, Prabhu. Actually, I was searching for that 9th July letter, and I'm sorry. I'm just sharing my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Also, maybe you can correct me about that. About the way.
No,
See,
opinion needs,
last time when I said,
we have to
last time when I
discuss
said,
it. We have to
yeah,
openly discuss things so that we
yeah,
can
yeah. Last time,
compare our thoughts, etc.
yeah, last time when I
Here's
said
the letter,
Ritvik,
Prabhat. Here's
I
the
like
last
the
time
way
when
letter.
I said,
I like the way your brain works.
last time I said I talk about Ritviks, I was telling, okay, in general, I was saying that people who believe in the Ritvik system of Acharya, okay, I call them Ritvik, but this is wrong. Okay, the real sense is a Ritvik is a one who not performs, but the response according. See, the real sense of Ritvik is in the 9th July letter. If you want, I can read that. I can read that letter.
I just
Okay, dear
shared the
Maharaj and
screen.
Prabhu to all devotees.
Direction of management.
Thanks. Not direction of management actually. No, not DOM. Actually, this one, the 9th July letter actually, the 9th July letter. Okay, if you can, please do that. Okay, I read it to all GBC and temple presidents. Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance at your feet. Recently, when all the GBC members were with His Divine Grace in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada indicated that soon he would appoint some of his senior disciples to act as Ritvik. Okay, here we have who's Ritvik, but it's Ritvik, representative of Acharya, for the purpose of performing initiations, both first and second initiations. His Divine Grace has so far given a list of 11 disciples who will act in that capacity. Okay, we have Kirtan Maharaj, Swarup, Jayapataka, Krishna, and Vidyanand, Bhavananda, Hansadut, Rameshwar, Harikesh, Bhagwan, Jaitirtha. Okay, now comes the most important part. Okay, in the past, temple presidents have written to Srila Prabhupada recommending a particular devotee's initiation. Okay, the temple president earlier, what they were doing, they were writing to Prabhupada recommending a particular devotee's initiation. Now that Prabhupada has named these representatives, temple president may henceforward send recommendation for first and second initiation to whichever of these 11 representatives are nearest the temple. Okay, these representatives who are the Ritviks, temple president, they have may temple president. Excuse me.
There are 12 people. The direction of management.
11. I think 11. Yeah.
There are 12 people.
No, it's not. Prabhu, I'm sorry.
Let's go through this one first.
Prabhu, it's not direction of management. I'm talking about 9th July letter. Okay, it's not direction of management. It's direction of management is about GBC. It's about GBC.
They're not said to be Ritviks. These personalities are considered as my representatives. While I am living, they will act as my zonal secretaries, and after my demise, they will be known as executors.
Oh no! Actually, you're discussing something else. Okay, I'm discussing something else. Yeah, actually, Prabhu was having a discussion on Ritvik. I was talking about the Ritvik actually. Okay, what you're saying, executors. I'll tell you something. Yeah, executors. What you're saying, they are the representatives. That's true. To manage ISKCON society, to manage ISKCON worldwide. And I tell you one thing. Okay, I think it's 1970, the direction of management, right?
Yeah.
There's one letter Srila Prabhupada wrote to, I think Nehru. I think it was Nehru. Much earlier.
Can you tell the letter? We can refer here.
Excuse me?
Can you name the letter?
Yeah.
You have to search. You have to search in this one in Sikshamrita. Okay, in Sikshamrita, in Prabhupada's compilation of letters, Prabhupada has written to many to Gandhi and all those people, to many important personalities. He wrote letter, and there's one such letter he wrote to, I think you have to search that, okay, to Nehru. But I know Prabhupada. I was very, very moved when I saw this. It was in 1950 or 1960, early 1960 or mid 50s. Okay, Prabhupada wrote one letter to Nehru, and you know what he was telling him? He was already mentioning about GBC, the GBC members, that 12 people are enough to manage the whole thing throughout the world. Like today we have the World Summit, G8, G6 or G8, G12, I don't know what G20 summit we have. Prabhupada at that time in 1950 or 1960, in a letter to Nehru, he was saying that only 12 people.
Yes, Prabhu. May I explain why he did that?
What, Prabhu?
Why did Prabhupada talk about GBC back then before he created ISKCON even?
Yeah, exactly. Because he knew. Because he.
No. There's a reason. Please, Prabhu. There's a reason for that. A lot of the things you're saying are wonderful, inspired, like about how Prabhupada created Ritvik, but the backstory, the reason why he did all of this stuff, and how it turned out the way it did, and even that. Well, anyhow, I'm not going to get into something too complicated here, but there's a big story as to why he created Ritvik. But the GBC, what Bhaktisiddhanta tried to create a GBC with his own disciples. Are you aware of that? Are you aware?
Yeah, but Bhaktisiddhanta wanted to create.
Prabhu, just answer right now. You're doing great with the language. You're very intelligent. But did you know the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to create a GBC for the Gaudiya Math?
Yeah.
But you are aware of that. You are aware of that.
Yeah, but for what purpose?
Okay, for the purpose that Prabhupada used the GBC for ISKCON, to coordinate it so it wouldn't break apart. But in the Gaudiya Math, they were already calculating how I'm going to take this temple, that temple. Each one will have its own temple, and then basically be independent from the Gaudiya Math. So to prevent that, Prabhupada followed Bhaktisiddhanta. You know where Bhaktisiddhanta got the term GBC, Governing Body Commission? Are you aware of where he got the term, the GBC?
Who, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur?
No, he got the term from the British. A minute, the British Indian Railway had GBC, and he said they are running the trains nicely. We should do the same sort of thing, because he had this very quirky way of doing things. He was a contrarian, because Gaurakacharan Swamiji was a contrarian. And so he would do things very weird that you never could imagine a Vaishnavacharya would do, particularly one of his stature. He did these quirky things. And there's a reason for that too, that I analyzed it very carefully.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with the GBC, Governing Body Commission, was from the Indian. They said, "What? Why do you want to copy the British Indian Railway?" They said, "Because they manage very nicely, so we can manage our society modeled after the British Indian Railway." So when Prabhupada mentions in a letter to Nehru, he's thinking of the GBC Bhaktisiddhanta wanted and didn't get from his disciples, with the inevitable result that the Gaudiya Math broke apart into individual pieces and has not had any power or strength ever since. Unlike ISKCON, which has gone ahead. What do you want to add?
Yeah. Actually, your opinion, I'm sorry, actually, I'm very sorry, okay, I'm very sorry, Babu, but I beg to differ. Because why? Because I'll tell you the reason why. That's why I said earlier, the purpose for Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur to create a GBC was to manage a society, yes, but more important one was that within the GBC members, one acharya, one successor will emerge. What was the purpose of saying this, okay, by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj. But you form a GBC, work combinedly, when with time, within the GBC, okay, one self-referred Acharya will emerge, okay, and he will be the successor. Now, if among the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, no one is agreeing to come, no one wants to work together, okay, only one person is canvassing all his god brothers to work together, and ultimately he becomes successful, then who is the successor? Of course, that only person, that is Prabhupada.
Yes, of course, but we have to understand that Prabhupada didn't get there accidentally. This is all coming from, as far as I'm concerned, the real succession is Lord Chaitanya, and then a straight line through the Sampradaya to Prabhupada. And I contend that Prabhupada is the last Acharya in the next 10,000 years of the golden age of Kali.
Yeah, Diksha, the one who is supposed to
nothing
be
anyone
Diksha
can add to what he's done. What he's done will save the world. Do you agree with it? Do you agree?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm trying to say. This now the instruction that Prabhupada has left for his GBC is that, okay, there will be always 12 GBC members. You have to manage according to the direction of management which Prabhu has just posted. You have to manage things and make sure things go according to what Prabhupada has given in his system of management as it is. What is the purpose of these GBC members? Okay.
Exactly.
And but now with that, Prabhupada will remain the sole Diksha Guru as long as ISKCON is here. Okay.
Eventually, Prabhu, we will be able to disband the GBC for the simple reason that they are not elected.
Yeah. But see, the present GBC what we are seeing in mainstream, that is bogus. That is bogus. That is completely bogus.
It doesn't matter what they say.
Yeah,
if the thieves come into your, if you have got a restaurant, the thieves come in and start running it. It doesn't matter what they say. They're thieves.
Yeah.
We just have to straighten out the business to run the way it was intended by the founder.
Yeah.
The founder, in this case, founder Acharya. We don't have to worry about what the thieves are doing. We will go. We have more authority than the GBC right here.
Prabhu,
what?
Prabhu Narayan, I would like to add something. Whatever you said about the GBC, that Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur got the idea that GBC actually was going. This was used in the railway system. Most probably, okay, perhaps, yeah. But I've heard. When you will read this book, Nectar of Instruction, that means Upadeshamrita, I think, right? Yeah, Upadeshamrita. Okay, the Nectar of Instruction. Actually,
you mean Upadeshamrita?
Yeah, Nectar of Instruction in this book. Okay, in the book Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada in the preface, okay, or in the preface or something in the beginning, he writes, actually, this Krishna consciousness movement is under direct supervision of Rupa Goswami. Okay, and I've heard another senior devotee saying that, okay, but the 6 Goswamis, they are the original, they are the original GBC of our Sankirtan movement, and they are still watching over us right now, right? They're still watching over the original GBCs of them. Okay, they are still watching over us.
We don't have a GBC in ISKCON.
No, it's.
They are not a GBC because they were not elected, and there's more than 12 of them.
I'm saying the 6 Goswamis, about the 6 Goswamis. The original GBC is actually for Lord Chaitanya's movement. The original GBC is actually what the GBCs are supposed to do. The original GBCs of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement are the 6 Goswamis actually, because they are the ones who have been interested to write books to propagate the Lord Chaitanya's movement, right?
Let's not forget who Rupa Goswami is. Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, one of the very top gopis under Radha and Krishna and Lalita and Vishaka. Then there's Rupa Goswami there. This is the level of authority that is producing the Upadeshamrita, the nectar of instruction. The level of authority is coming from Krishna Loka, from a gopi in Krishna Loka, who is the record keeper of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna.
Yeah, maybe you must have read this book also, the compilation of quotes by or I don't know if you have read directly from Prabhupada's books, okay? Or I haven't read many the big books like Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita completely, but I have read this book many times. Spiritual Master and Disciple by Subhanananda Brahmachari. Okay, it's a compilation of quotes by Prabhupada from his books about the Guru Tattva. Okay, and in this book, and even preaching is an essence also. In these two books, Prabhupada clearly mentioned that the ISKCON followers, our ISKCON followers, okay, at present Prabhupada's followers actually, the same Lord Chaitanya's movement, Sankirtan movement, there's no difference when Lord Chaitanya Prabhu was vibrating that Hare Krishna Mahamantra at that time. And now when that mantra is being vibrated, there's no difference actually. It's the same sound with same potency. Okay.
Where is it? Where is that said?
I will forward it. It must be there in Chaitanya Charitamrita or Srimad Bhagavatam, but I read it in that book, Spiritual Master and Disciple. Okay, maybe in Preaching is the Essence or Spiritual Master and Disciple book.
Yeah, that statement, Prabhu, is the key to what we are doing with the with our group here, the League for 10,000 years.
See, Prabhu. The power, there's something like Prabhupada, okay? Prabhupada is a successor, okay, of our spiritual, of the disciplic succession, okay? The bona fide and authorized one, okay, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada has immersed in one of the purports, he said, but any disciple, okay, who gets a power of attorney from his master, okay, he can act, okay, he has a power of attorney. That means he has the same. I'm getting a call.
Can I make a comment here?
Yeah, you can say.
Isn't the Ritvik system only supposed to be working when Prabhupada was there and he wasn't able to initiate people who were far away from him? So he appointed people as representatives to initiate on his behalf. It doesn't have any basis right now.
Why?
It's only supposed to be working when Prabhupada was there. Now the books, you read Prabhupada books, you follow 4 regulator principles. A devotee asked Prabhupada, we are printing so many books, millions of books, how are you going to initiate them? Prabhupada said, you read the book, they read the books, they follow 4 regulator principles, they chant 16 rounds, that is really real initiation. My touch is just a formality.
Yes. Yeah. So Prabhupada is an initiator. And Prabhupada is an initiator. Yeah, Prabhupada is an initiator. Okay, Prabhupada is initiating them. That's it. But now what is our role? Our role is a facilitator. Okay, to connect these people to Prabhupada. Okay, that's our role actually. What is supposed to be the role of all ISKCON followers, isn't it?
No, they follow what Prabhupada has given instructions. I mean, the 4 regulator principles. They read the books and they chant 16 rounds. They're in the Sampradaya automatically.
Yeah, but it is not as easy as it sounds, Prabhu. It's not as easy as it sounds. Okay, that's why Prabhupada created.
If they're doing this, the Vani is more important rather than the Vapu initiation.
Yeah.
That means they are already initiated by Prabhupada. You don't need to perform a Ritvik ceremony, initiation ceremony.
No. See, if you have to read that 9th July letter, see, you're reading something direction of management. I'm not talking about direction of management. I'm talking about 9th July letter.
If you exactly name it, we can share the screen and you can discuss the letter.
Yeah. See, Ramchandra Prabhu is here. Ramchandra Prabhu.
I think Ramchandra Prabhu is driving.
He's driving, okay, but he won't be able to talk also. Okay, it's not a problem. Maybe he can listen to us. Okay, but see, the basis of this continuation of Prabhupada's system of initiation, okay, ISKCON system of initiation. The whole thing is rest upon this 9th July letter, okay. Try to read this. Try to read this very, very carefully. Prabhu knows the significance of this 9th July letter. Yeah. So but we have to be, it's here. No, it's not here in the screen.
So are you getting to the point?
I have to share it. Can you name the year? 1960.
1977, 9th July 1977. Go and read it carefully many times. Have you read the book Final Order?
Which?
Final Order. The one who was asking questions. I forgot who was asking questions. Who was asking clarifications? Bhanu? Is it Bhanu Krishna Babu?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. See, the one who was asking me about the letter, okay? You must read the July 9th letter. You must study carefully this letter, and you must study also this book, Final Order. This is our Ritvik. This is a Bible actually. This is our Bible for what to say, a Ritvik Bible. Okay, the Ritvik system of initiation. Okay, that's our Bible. You should read this book very, very carefully. Okay. You'll have all the supporting evidence, direct, indirect evidence, everything you'll get. If you don't have the hard copy.
This is Srila Prabhupada unedited works, complete works, and this is the 9th July. What you're referring, if I am correct. Letter to all GBC, all temple presidents, Vrindavan, 9th July 1977.
Exactly. Read it. See. In the past, read the second paragraph. Okay, I've already read this earlier. Please accept my humble obeisances. In the past, can you go down? Scroll down in the past.
We'll read it again. We'll read the first paragraph.
Okay, you read it.
Dear Maharajas and Prabhus.
No, first. To all GBC and temple presidents.
To all GBC and temple presidents. Dear Maharajas and Prabhus. Please accept my humble obeisances at your feet. Recently, when all the GBC members were with His Divine Grace in Vrindavana, Srila Prabhupada indicated that soon he would appoint some of his senior disciples to act as Ritvik representatives of the Acharya. For the purpose of performing...
Who wrote that?
Tamal Krishna Goswami.
Tamal Krishna.
Tamal Krishna Goswami wrote. Tamal Krishna Goswami wrote that letter, but it was approved by Srila Prabhupada, okay? And this letter is not an ordinary letter, it's a letter written to all GBC.
Do you know why Prabhupada appointed Ritviks at all?
For the purpose of continuation of the disciplic succession for the Parampara, but Prabhupada is going to restore...
Can I give you the background of what happened? What happened there was that when devotees became aware that Prabhupada was possibly about to enter Samadhi, a huge number of devotees applied for initiation. And then they came to Prabhupada and said, all these devotees are applying for initiation. And Prabhupada said, fine, I will initiate them. He said, but Prabhupada, this is where the criminal part comes in. But Prabhupada, you're so ill, being poisoned to death, you're so ill that you can't, we're afraid that if you initiate them, it will do you in. You know, what's the question of the pure devotee being a representative of Krishna? Oh no, Krishna will get done in, but Krishna operating through the spiritual master will get done in. Oh well, that's their theory. But anyhow, that's what their argument was. Prabhupada knew it was a bogus argument. And he said, so we don't know what to do. They were hoping Prabhupada would not initiate them. But then he said, well, then I will create a Ritvik representation. In all truth, the Ritvik initiations had been taking place since the early 1970s. In other words, any initiation where Prabhupada was not personally present, personally chanting on the beads, personally doing the fire, was a Ritvik, because even Prabhupada took a Ritvik initiation as sannyasi. Are you aware of that?
Yes, yes,
Prabhupada's,
yes.
yeah, no, a certain famous demoniac person gave him the initiation and then claimed that he was Prabhupada's actual guru because
Keshav Maharaj.
sannyasa is more important. But what? Yeah. So the thing is, I don't want to get into name calling, but all the initiations were Prabhupada. They would mail the beads to Prabhupada, then mail them back with spiritual names. That was all done from the 70s, early 70s, because Prabhupada was only in one temple. And during what Hare Krishna wrote, the Hare Krishna explosion, it was an incredible influx of devotees coming in. So he created a representation, but he didn't say that, didn't call them Ritviks. Hansanuda one time, they're mostly temple presidents. Hansanuda once said that he didn't like doing the sacrificial fires, so he appointed the temple commander to do the fires.
Yes,
So Prabhupada
yes,
appoints
yes.
Hansanuda appoints the temple commander, and he does it and chants all the mantras. Just as today we have weddings like that, we have what you call it, Shraddha ceremonies like that. They're all done by Ritviks. Whether they call them Ritviks or not, they are Ritviks. They're not Prabhupada. So in any event, the reason that Prabhupada created this Ritvik thing was he wanted there to be no uninitiated devotees aspiring to be devotees who were not initiated by the time he entered samadhi. You know? So they wouldn't let him do the initiation himself. They prevented him. And so he said, okay, I will appoint Ritviks. And he appointed 11 Ritviks to do that. He started out with fewer than 11, but they got up to 11. Yeah, I will do that, and they will initiate in my behalf. So they were supposed to initiate every backlog of devotees. I don't know how many there were, but probably over 1,000. He wanted to initiate them for Prabhupada, but they didn't do that. They refused. What they did was they hoarded them, so that they wanted to have people to initiate as Ritviks after Prabhupada entered Samadhi. So they kept a storehouse because supposing Prabhupada had entered Samadhi and there were no people that hadn't been initiated, how would these guys, who would not have been called Ritviks, how would these guys have been able to then say, now we're the new gurus, we're going to initiate? Nobody would have bought it. But because they created this trick of creating, the Ritviks created the trick of Ritvik, so that they would be able to have a backlog of uninitiated devotees that they will initiate as their own disciples under the authority or supposed authority of Srila Prabhupada. Does that make sense? I lived through this.
Yeah, actually, but it wasn't only till Prabhupada was to be in the planet. This was supposed to carry on even when Prabhupada leaves the planet. Okay, because as you're saying, Prabhupada got was his physical health was getting deteriorated. That's why
By poison.
Yeah. But the thing is,
so
even
the Ritviks that wanted to be Ritviks were the ones. Many of them were the ones that were poisoning Prabhupada at the same time.
Yes, I agree with you what you're saying. But see, the persons, okay, Prabhupada has given later. Prabhupada actually was already initiating during 1970s. Prabhupada was already conducting initiation through the Ritvik system, right? But he didn't give them any name. He didn't call them Ritvik, okay? These people.
Right. They just said temple president. Somebody in the temple would do a sacred fire.
But there's a difference, I'm sorry, Narayan Prabhu. See.
What's the difference?
That is what the Nam July letter is all about. It gives a very clear picture. What you're saying earlier, these temple presidents earlier were writing to Prabhupada. But now this is not going to be the case, okay? Because Prabhupada is going to wind up his pastime, his Prakat Leela. He's going to wind up this pastime. Now his Aprakat Leela will start. When the Aprakat Leela pastime will start, there is now the new direction will be given in the form of 9th July letter. Okay? So what at what time the GBCs, they have misinterpreted, they have misdirected and misguided
wait,
the whole.
Wait. GBC and Ritviks are not related.
Yes. But most of these people at what time were GBCs? These 11 Ritviks at what time were GBCs?
Oh, yes. Had they been elected by the temple presidents?
But they were not. Even during that time, Prabhupada.
So they were not actually GBCs. They were pirates.
When why Prabhupada in the 9th July letter will write to all GBC members? I think during Prabhupada's time, there were 23 GBC members. You know what? Prabhupada was saying that he has conducted meetings, GBC member meetings.
Because if Prabhupada didn't accept them, they would have left the movement and taken the movement in pieces for their own property.
Exactly. Prabhupada didn't want to rock the
Prabhupada
boat.
did not ever authorize them to not be elected. He just didn't destroy the movement by telling them they weren't GBC.
Yeah. Prabhupada didn't want to rock the boat. Okay.
Remember, he is Trikalagya. Prabhupada knows past, present, and future. And if I'm going to shock your skin off if I tell you why did he create the Ritviks the way he did.
Prabhu, I tell you, I'm already.
Do you know why he created those 11 Ritviks?
Prabhu,
because remember, he could see. He was not stupid. He could see the future.
Of course.
What was the future? They were going to declare themselves gurus. It was transparent. It was obvious. Anybody but a complete idiot would be able to see this what we're doing. And since most of those Ritviks were idiots, most of them were not even following all the regulated principles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why would they be Ritviks? Why not somebody who is pure? You know, somebody who at least follows the 4 regular principles. Why not? He knew what they wanted to do. So he was creating the Ritviks so that they would become gurus later on as successor gurus. He wanted them to do that because if he didn't want them to do it, they would have done it anyhow, except it would have broken the movement into pieces. By creating the Ritviks, he kept the movement united. But here's my proof of the second part. He told them, if you have any questions, go to Sridhar. And Sridhar will tell you all the fine tuning, what to do.
No,
except for one small detail. Sridhar is the person that destroyed the whole Gaudiya Math by electing Ananta Vasudev to be Acharya.
Yeah.
So he sent them off to the slaughterhouse of he sent them to the slaughterhouse of Sridhar Maharaj, right? He sent them to Sridhar Maharaj, who was the slaughterer of the Gaudiya Math. He slaughtered the Gaudiya Math, destroyed it.
No, I didn't get you. I didn't get your lost part. Srila Prabhupada sent his disciples to Sridhar Maharaj?
Yes.
No, Prabhu. I'm sorry, Prabhu. I beg to differ. I'm very.
No. I have seen the documentation. He actually wrote letters. He gave them written instructions to go to Sridhar.
There's only one person who got this instruction actually. It was very early in the beginning. I forgot his name. I think Achyutanand or Achyuta Krishna. I forgot his name, or Tushta Krishna, something like that. Okay, or Pradyumna. I don't know. Among these 4 must be one. Okay. This person actually
was the editor of the Sanskrit. Achyutananda was the rascal that Prabhupada said should not publish the Vaishnava Sen book because it was not bona fide.
I don't know who got this, but particular letter, what you are saying, okay, that particular letter, actually that person was already disobeying Prabhupada, okay, he was already disobeying Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada just to what to say, I don't know what the word to use.
Prabhupada clearly told them to go to Sridhar.
He knows among his god brothers, okay, all are useless. But among the less useless one, okay, the one who still follows the regulative principle was Sridhar Maharaj. And if Sridhar Maharaj
Yes.
had some, if
But he
Sridhar
sent them
Maharaj,
there to become
tell me,
bogus gurus.
yeah, listen to what Prabhu.
I have the transcript of their, I have the actual transcript in my possession of 3 days of conversations with Sridhar Maharaj. And Sridhar Maharaj was completely fooled by them. He was not enlightened. He destroyed. One second. Do you accept that Sridhar Maharaj destroyed the Gaudiya Math?
Of course, yeah, because Prabhupada said so. But
if you want to know how he did it, read Prabhupada's poem, Falgun Krishna Panchami, where he refers to the person that Sridhar appointed to be the Acharya. He calls him the jackal Ananta Dev.
Yeah.
Have you read the Falgun Krishna Panchami?
Yes. I know where his fear bit. I've read it earlier. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so Sridhar destroyed 2 movements.
Yeah.
The Gaudiya Math and then ISKCON by authorizing.
He was fighting. He was trying to do so. Yeah. He was trying to do so by
become gurus.
Yeah. First, he misguided. He misdirected He misguided the disciples, the followers of Prabhupada, the disciples of Prabhupada, and when he was trying to usurp Prabhupada's disciples, because Prabhupada directly told them, don't take instruction from them. I've already given all instruction in my books. Now you just follow. Okay? What was the instruction? But thing is, Prabhu, but I request everyone to read this one. I request the devotees to read this Nam Jirai letter very, very carefully, okay? About the initiation, what you are saying actually, the reason why Prabhupada...
Who is this man?
Who?
You say you should read this man. Who is this man?
No. You should read. There's one devotee who put that Nam Jirai letter on the screen. Okay, maybe that devotee is not aware much about the Nam Jirai letter. That's what I'm telling him. That's what I'm telling him.
Who is speaking in the Nam Jirai letter?
Who is speaking? It's an approved letter by Srila Prabhupada.
That's Tamal Krishna. Tamal Krishna wrote that letter.
Yeah, but it is an official letter. It's an official letter approved by Prabhupada. There is even Prabhupada's signature on that.
Yes, but what is the purpose?
Purpose? That's the whole thing. How initiation will be conducted throughout the whole movement.
The purpose was to set up the Ritviks so that they would become regular gurus that would unite and keep the movement from falling apart. And guess what? It worked.
No,
the movement is still not. No, don't be sorry. I happen to know because I was deeply involved at the time.
No,
how old are you?
I'm 37.
I'm 77.
Yeah,
I was there. I wasn't in Vrindavan, but I was aware of every move, and I was aware of everything that happened afterwards. I'm aware of everything, how they did. Your intelligence is great. Your information is not altogether perfect. That's all I'm saying. If you had perfect information, and I can help you advance your excellent information, you're very intelligent, you're very well structured, you sound like you could be an attorney in the Supreme Court. But the point is, are you in India or are you in USA? Or where are you?
No, I'm a person of Indian origin actually. I'm a person of Indian origin. I'm not Indian. I'm not American. No, I'm not European. No.
Where do you live?
I live in Mauritius.
Mauritius. Oh.
Yes. Maybe you have heard something about Mauritius.
No, this is very good. But please understand that there's more to it than meets the eye, and the Ritviks turned it into a stupid little pudding that has no real power or authenticity to it. The whole thing about Ritvik is that the only person who can initiate, according to the Upadeshamrita, is the Uttama Adhikari. And there's no other Ritvik, there's no other initiator allowed. if there is no other initiator, then somebody has to be a priest. Forget the word Ritvik, a fire sacrifice priest to initiate people in behalf of the Uttamarakari. The only Uttamarakari we have ever encountered is Srila Prabhupada, right?
I would like to ask one question. Bhanu Krishna Prabhu, are you
Yeah,
here?
Prabhu. Yeah.
Tell me something. Have you read the final order, the book?
No, I haven't read it. I haven't come across it.
I'm asking you a very simple question, Prabhu. Have you read the final order book?
No, I haven't read it.
I helped publish it.
You have published. Very good. Bhanu Krishna Prabhu, I didn't get a clear answer from you. Yes or
In
no?
1995.
No, I haven't read it.
Okay, so please, I don't know if you'll be able to, you'll manage to get one hard copy. But even if you don't get one hard copy, okay, because in this lockdown, I don't know, but you can get. Just ask if there must be some many centers, okay, Ritvik centers. You can ask a copy of this book. By Lord
The final order.
Yes, yeah, the final order book. Try to get one book, okay, or
But that is not written by Prabhupada. That's written by Krishna Kant.
Yes, but he has done a fantastic job because there are many sincere followers of Prabhupada. Okay, there are many sincere followers.
I know Krishna Kant extremely well. In fact, I held a festival for Krishna Kant, who was here personally in 1995 in a huge Masonic hall with hundreds of people that came to, and I helped arrange all of that in Los Angeles. And Madhu Pandit was a young man. He came long before he built the Bangalore temple.
Bangalore temple, yeah. Actually, now
before the Bangalore temple.
He started Bangalore temple, and now Bangalore temple he has Madhu Pandit Prabhu and his team has created this Hare Krishna movement. Okay, ISKCON Bangalore group of temples. ISKCON Bangalore group of temples, where they are trying to implement Prabhupada's direction of management. Okay.
I know that.
As Prabhupada wanted.
In 2016, I went and stayed a month with Madhu Pandit.
Very nice. So there is something called as Phalena Parichyate. Madhu Pandit Prabhu, okay, he is himself following the 9th July letter directive. He says it very openly. Actually, the whole thing, okay, the Hare Krishna movement, okay, because there, if you go, you'll find many new devotees who are getting initiated by Prabhupada. Okay, these devotees are Prabhupada's disciples. So he's just following the 9th July letter directive and Prabhupada's system of management as it should be. And the most important thing is
he's not doing it completely, but he's doing a lot.
Yeah, Phalena Parichyate. Just say. I don't know why. I don't know
how. The kirtans and artis are not the way Prabhupada instructed.
Like what kind of kirtan you want to say?
I like to see the kirtan must be that uttered by the pure devotee of the Lord. The chanting should be heard from the lips of the pure devotee of the Lord for full effect to be achieved. Chanting from the lips of what?
Tell me, what are they chanting? What kirtan they did where you didn't approve actually?
What?
The Prabhupada melody Prabhu is talking about, the Prabhupada melody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yes.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That tune.
Okay.
They didn't ever chant like that. Their kirtans were weak. I was there. I led kirtans there. I led lots of kirtans in Bangalore at the buildings owned by the temple. Mm-hmm. But the chanting was weak that they do. It has no potency, no shakti, no power. Why? Because you cannot add or subtract to what is instructed by the spiritual master. So if the spiritual master gives an example of chanting, you cannot come up with some other tune that you get from somewhere. You have to follow your spiritual master. But
Okay.
but Madhupada was initiated
No.
by Jayapataka, so he
Listen,
learned all that stuff from
I would,
Jayapataka's people.
I would like to ask you something. Okay.
Yes.
You mean to say at that particular time, okay, when Vishnu Jan Swami was there, when Indra Prabhu was there, okay, when Bhakti Charu Swami Prabhu was there, Bhakti Swami Maharaj, and all these devotees.
Bhakti Charu is has a rock and roll band that doesn't chant Hare Krishna.
Okay, whatever. Okay, what about Vishnu
Okay,
Jan Swami?
Ayendra did not chant according to Prabhupada. So therefore, useless.
What Prabhu means to say,
Vishnu Jan largely chanted according to Prabhupada because I was chanting with him in 1969 in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Because he and I were both kirtan leaders.
Okay, very nice. I'm very happy to hear that. So what I don't know what you're saying when you're saying that their kirtan is weak or they don't chant as Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada,
so you need to chant like Prabhupada. In case you've never heard Prabhupada, have you ever heard Prabhupada leading kirtan?
Yeah, I've heard.
Then that's what you should do. Why do something else?
So you mean Prabhupada when what you mean is Prabhupada when at that time during his Prakat Leela, his manifested Leela, when somebody was doing kirtan during his manifested presence, okay, his manifested Leela, that his Prakat Leela, when he was pre-77, when the people were out, when the devotees like Vishnu Chandra, Swami Lokanath Maharaj and all these kirtanyas, when they were out doing kirtan, so they had to do only one or two specific melody, no different melody.
Just Prabhupada melodies.
That's because Prabhupada brought that tune from the spiritual world. He brought it down from the spiritual world.
Yes, Nartan Das Thakur says Hare Krishna comes straight from Krishna Loka.
But
but with chanting, I have no connection.
Okay,
yeah.
Prabhupada.
But in 1972, I was in Calcutta, and in Calcutta, they would lead the kirtan. They wouldn't let Prabhupada lead the kirtan. They would lead the kirtan with bogus Bengali melodies introduced by Achyutananda. And Achyutananda bringing these bogus melodies, Prabhupada wouldn't even chant. He would just sit there with his head bowed while they were jumping up and down like rabbit, like dancing white elephants.
Yeah,
I was watching that. I regret that I never brought it up, but I thought, well, Prabhupada must have some bigger plan, or why is he allowing this to happen? But then I saw they were all doing it to create a following for themselves. Each one would do it differently, so that when he went back to his own temple, he would have a following that would eventually be his temple with his following chanting his melodies, not the spiritual master's melodies.
I don't know.
The principle is you do not add or subtract. So they added and they subtracted Prabhupada, they added their own opinions.
See, about the melody. Actually, what you're saying, actually, Babu, again, I beg to apologize. Okay, I apologize. Okay, because I beg to differ, because what I've heard from, what I've seen, what I've read from Prabhupada's teaching is that he didn't want too many instruments. Like he wanted simple, like kartal, mridanga, and harmonium. Okay, he didn't want to.
Kartals, yes.
But about the melodies, I haven't heard him about the melodies. Okay, I haven't seen Prabhupada any letters.
You cannot understand when Prabhupada is chanting that it's him chanting?
No, I'm seeing the chanting is the chanting.
May I ask you, on what basis do you reject Prabhupada chanting?
I'm not rejecting Prabhupada chanting. When I'm
oh, you don't? Oh, do you chant the same as Prabhupada, or you chant differently?
You mean japa or when I sing?
Melody. Do you chant Prabhupada melody, or do you chant differently?
No, I can sing I can sing like Prabhupada's melody, and I would love to.
That means you're a disciple of Prabhupada. Now, if you chant somebody else's melody, you're a disciple of whoever wrote that melody, aren't you?
No, I haven't heard
Achyutananda, Achyutananda went to great pains, and I was there when he was doing it, to convince all the temple presidents, all the kirtan leaders, that Prabhupada was just teaching us the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. That he taught us that because we were too stupid to chant the real melodies. And he said that. So he introduced all these Bengali melodies done by the eunuchs, by the bowels, by the owls of the different people wandering the streets collecting money as sahajas. He taught all of those melodies, plus Gaudiya Math melodies, who did not chant according to Bhaktisiddhanta.
Okay.
My experience,
the whole point is the Hare Krishna mantra is all Krishna consciousness movement is. The rest of it is just chit chat. The Hare Krishna mantra is everything. The only way to chant is the way to, if your spiritual master says something, you don't say something else. If the spiritual masters chant something, you don't chant something else. How many brains does it take to understand that? How intelligent do you have to be? Exactly. Or what sort of education do you need to understand that you don't add or subtract means, you don't add and you don't subtract. Okay. But that's what they do. They subtracted from Prabhupada, they added to Prabhupada with their own melodies or Achyutananda melodies, Indian melodies, Bollywood melodies. They chant any damn crap that they want to. And Mr. John also used to, Mr. John liked to chant Christian Christmas melodies sometimes with the Hare Krishna mantra. But here's something. I went, Mr. John, and when in London, when they went there and made a recording of the Hare Krishna mantra. And by the way, I don't know if you ever heard that record from the London devotees, but if you did, it was Prabhupada's melody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It became #1 hit, bigger than any Beatles, longer on the hit parade than any Beatles song, and it became on the hit parade of American records too. Prabhupada's melody. Any other attempt to send a melody popular failed completely. Only the Prabhupada melody became famous through the Apple records. So what happened is that Mr. John and I, when we heard the devotees were doing so well in London, we got together and we began to write melodies. We wrote about 10 melodies. And they were nice melodies, really good melodies for the Hare Krishna mantra. And we went to Srila Prabhupada in 1969 at the temple on La Cienega Boulevard. We went to Srila Prabhupada and said, could we sing these melodies for you? Things were more informal then, because Prabhupada was more accessible to the devotees at that time. There being fewer devotees and very few temples. And he said 17 temples in all when we were there. So we went to Prabhupada and said, we have these melodies. He said, can we chant them for you? And we chanted them. And he was smiling and gazing at us fondly and very nice, you know. And so we thought, we're making a big hit. And then when we finished the melodies, we asked Srila Prabhupada, how did you like them? Srila Prabhupada said, very nice. They're very nice. And then either I or Mr. John asked, well, can we use these on Sankirtan? And Prabhupada said, these are nice melodies that you have created, but you're better to chant the ones that I have taught you, is what he said to Mr. John, who then went on to ignore what he said in many cases. Mr. John was autistic, and so because of that, he could chant, but he didn't have a very high IQ. I knew him extremely well in 1969 and onward. But so Mr. John, they glorify. He doesn't get glorified. the thing which turned me up to Vishnu John was that in early days when I first came into the temple in San Francisco, he talked to me confidentially. He said, I keep having this recurring fantasy. I say, what is it? That I pick up this heavy chair and smash Prabhupada over the head with it. He had this recurring fantasy of smashing Prabhupada over the head with a chair, heavy chair. Then he also joined with Brahmananda, Gargamuni, and Subal to say that Prabhupada was God. Where's the brains there? They were saying Prabhupada was God. He almost destroyed the movement.
No, about smashing the chair on Prabhupada's head. Who said that?
Mr. John.
Why?
That was his fantasy. I tell you, he had mental defects, but he was able to chant.
Was into Sankirtana. He wasn't getting into the idea of Prabhupada's instruction of book distribution.
What?
When Prabhupada was moving from Sankirtana to propagating the books, Vishnu Jana couldn't get into it. Was it?
I don't understand what you're saying.
You mean to say Vishnu Jan Swami wasn't philosophical?
No. When Prabhupada started to focus on book distribution, he wasn't happy that the focus was going from Sankirtan to book distribution, the main focus.
But then he saw that they were not able to chant authentically. They all were making up their own melodies, and they were all using any sort of song off the radio for chanting Hare Krishna, that then he allowed them to continue with the book distribution. But calling book distribution Sankirtan was created by Rameshwar Swami, because he wanted the book distributors, when they in the temple, I used to sit in the temple during those days, and when they said, all glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtan, all the book distributors would be pounding boom, 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 on their mridangas. Why? So Rameshwar called book distribution Sankirtan on the basis that Thakur Bhaktivinoda called the book distribution the big mridanga. So he said, because that's the big mridanga, then that's Sankirtan. And then he changed Sankirtan, which was chanting in the streets, to Harinam. And Rameshwar did it. Now he blooped. He was taking drugs. He was drinking whiskey. He got married. He had a bunch of karmi kids. And now he has had COVID and pneumonia. So, but I worked with Rameshwar in the earlier days as the director of the art department that produced all the paintings from 5th canto to 10th canto. I designed all the pictures from, if you read the books, you'll see those are the paintings that I supervised the painting of as an art director. And Rameshwar was the intermediary to Srila Prabhupada. So I worked very closely with Rameshwar. But then he created that whole thing about Sankirtan is book distribution, Harinam is chanting. But Prabhupada never called Sankirtan Harinam. He said Sankirtan. Sometimes he would write Harinam Sankirtan, but only Sankirtan. Sankirtan means congregational chanting. Harinam simply means, as you may guess, holy name. So that's not a practice. That is a description of what Sankirtan is chanting. So Sankirtan of Lord Chaitanya is authentic, and Harinam by Rameshwar is not. But the whole movement is addicted to calling Sankirtan Harinam. So the same thing with Vishnu John and with, what's his name? What? Oh yeah. Yeah, they murdered him, in Vrindavan.
So Vashish Prabhu just left. He had to go.
Yeah. Wonderful discussions you guys were having. I was listening.
Who's talking?
Ramachandra.
Ronald, Ramachandra Prabhu. I'm back. I was listening to the
Oh,
whole discourse. You have talked about these things before, at least to us. It was
Well,
good that it was recorded.
we-
And
Yeah,
Jai,
we have to talk about them so many times because we have different people on our site.
yes, yes. So that's great that it and now it's fully documented.
Yes.
Was new from me too.
Hey, is that your daughter?
Hare Krishna kar do Prabhu ke?
How wonderful! Is that your little girl,
Yes, yes. This Brenda.
Brenda? Tell Brenda, and I really think she's wonderful.
Jai, देखो सुनो हरि बोल कर दो.
Hare Krishna.
Brenda, Hare Krishna. I really think that you're wonderful. You're going to be a very great devotee of Krishna.
Jai, बोलो. Thank you, बोलो.
I could say that I give you my blessing to be a great devotee of
Jai.
Krishna, except that I could go further and say you can have Prabhupada's blessing, and you can go further, you can have Bhaktisiddhanta's blessing, and so on and so on, and you can have Lord Chaitanya's blessing. And guess what? You can have Krishna's own personal blessing for you to become a great devotee.
Krishna, बोलो. Hare Krishna. She wants to
Hare
go to
Bol.
sleep,
My-
Prabhu.
Any blessing I give is pretty pale by comparison. So,
Acha. I think we'll
So-
end it here, Prabhus.
Yeah,
It's time for me
but-
to go to sleep.
yeah, that's true. Now, the devotee that was talking so strongly, until I began to take some exception to some of the things he said, he was from Mauritius, right? You're muted, right?
Yes, yes. From
Yeah,
Mauritius, Prabhu.
he's the guy that has a shaved head, so very smooth features.
No, it's a new guy. This is Vashish Prabhu. It's a different devotee.
I hope I didn't scare him off.
No, I didn't think his.
It was
You didn't
time
scare
for
him
him
off.
to know some other things he had to.
You see, he's extremely intelligent, but he's not entirely well informed.
Of course not. He's not.
Well,
You can
of
see
course,
that.
that means ISKCON created its own mythology. Has he been involved with Bangalore?
He's
Yeah.
involved with Bangalore. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
combined.
Yeah. So
Ritvik.
yeah, so am I. But the thing Bangalore has created that they're so isolated, they created their own history, their own mythology. And we have to try to understand that their mythology isn't always 100% correct.
Yes, yes. That's the thing, because these people have not been. They don't know the correct information. Like, this guy was not there when you were there, and you knew exactly what was going on in the GBC, why it was created, and all that. He didn't know all that because Madhu Pandit doesn't give him all that, or they don't know about it.
Well, I doubt that Madhu Pandit knew about it. Remember, Madhu Pandit is from India. He was initiated by Jayapataka. He went and started a Bangalore temple. And then gradually, as he developed the temple, it became a what you could call Ritvik temple. Krishna's blessed him beyond imagination. That place is completely, incredibly opulent. He's got stacks of condos, apartment buildings. He has two big temples in Bangalore. And when I say big, I mean big. But they mostly are worshiping in the South Indian style. Not like Prabhupada
Gaudiya style. Yes, not the Gaudiya
What?
Vaishnava style. Yes, yes. Not the Gaudiya Vaishnava style.
Or at least not the Prabhupada style.
Yes.
He doesn't have the same type of deities as in the ISKCON temples,
Yes.
which I tend to question because there's nothing wrong with those deities, but Prabhupada never installed any like those.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another thing that Madhu Pandit does that Prabhupada never did.
Yeah, but as far as Madhupanda goes, he's doing the right thing. His heart's in the right place, and his intelligence is extremely good. But
Right.
when I was there, I couldn't believe that you could not hear a decent kirtan. The
Uh,
kirtans were not very. It's just a few people chanting together very quietly. No big roaring kirtans.
uh, Interesting.
So I mean, I would try to lead. I succeeded in kirtan outside of the temple. In their, they had social lodges. They
Uh,
had big surrounded, like huge apartment buildings standing up, and in the middle was parks and playgrounds, swimming pools, everything like that. And
Swimming pools?
for the
Wow.
for the tenants, big Olympic-sized swimming pools for the
Oh,
tenants. Yeah,
wow.
and then they had a big social scene, a social arena, and they invited me to give a kirtan and lecture at the social arena. So I did, and I held a
Wow.
kirtan, and I did my typical style of letting everybody take turns chanting. The kirtan, because of that, it went on for a couple of hours, and the people got incredibly stoked up, very, very ecstatic. And then afterwards, I gave a lecture, which I was, you know, supporting Madhu Pandit and supporting how Prabhupada's movement was meant to be Prabhupada disciples and not, disciples of Kanistadikaris.
Right.
It was very, very, very powerful and successful. But I couldn't hold a kirtan like that in the temple.
Hmm.
They all chanted quietly and they didn't use Prabhupada melodies.
Huh. Did you talk to Madhu Pandit about it? Just a sideline note, or
Well,
no?
not really. I
Oh,
talked to him more about World Sankirtan.
oh, okay, okay. So World Sankirtan, he didn't ask, or he
Yeah,
didn't say he was
yeah, he's
interested.
very interested in it. But I came back to the United States and I didn't go back to India. He wanted me to stay in Udupi, which is south of Bangalore. You see,
Hmm.
there's a major deep flaw, defect, or problem with Bangalore Temple. They do not allow Western devotees.
Well, you were Western.
Yeah. And when I was staying there at the house of another devotee who was a Western devotee,
Huh.
I think his name was, what was his name? Rathayatra Das, I think. Uh, he got into trouble for letting me stay in his apartment.
Huh? What? Interesting.
Yeah. I was supposed to stay in the guest house only for 1,200 rupees a night, 1,500 rupees a night.
But you stayed at the devotee's house, so that's even better. But he got in trouble.
Yeah, but except that's against the rules. You can't
So,
have Western. No, what? It's not Madhu Pandit. It's his partner, the guy that helped him from the start, work building it. They got a very big distrust of Western devotees, and they feel that the whole problem with this con is that Western devotees began to call the shots. Well, the
well, that's
fact is that
no.
Prabhupada wrote in English, he preached in English. It's not that that was a mistake. It's not that it was an accident. This was what Krishna wanted him to do.
Right, right, right.
Or, duh, he wouldn't have done it. So, this guy has made a problem. He's trying to solve the problem of the lawsuit in Bangalore by not allowing any Western devotees to have any authority in the temple, because he thinks that will put them under the grip of the unelected GBC. Whereas I was trying to tell them the GBC is the problem.
Mm. Hmm.
In other words, they're not elected, therefore they don't have any authority. That should be powerful in the Indian court. They may be
Right.
registered, but they don't have any founding document that was created by Prabhupada.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
they're following another line of approach, which I don't think is
Events.
effective.
Exactly.
And then
Okay.
they got Paramjan and Yasodhanandan involved doing their publicity, which was a disaster.
Huh. Interesting.
Really
Wow.
garbage. They wrote garbage,
Mm-hmm.
whereas they should have been writing Brahminically, giving insight to the intelligent class of men, which is what we're trying to do here, is bring to the intelligent class of men the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Why did the devotee from Mauritius get off the line?
He
He
was
had
in
to
a
leave
hurry.
us.
What?
He had to leave. It was maybe some work or something like that.
Are you sure I didn't offend him?
No.
Because we need to have him back again.
Yeah, he'll be back. He's not
He's
done
there in
yet.
he's there in the
Why
group,
do you,
WhatsApp group.
his name is what?
Vashish.
He is there, Vashish. He is there in the WhatsApp group. He's sharing proper quotes from Bangalore ISKCON.
Yeah.
He'll be back, Narayan Prabhu. He'll be back. He's not finished yet. He still has a lot to say. I can see that.
Yeah, but he came in as trying to establish himself as a basically final authority on every topic. He spoke with great strength, like an expert lawyer or politician. I'm not putting him down. I'm just saying that's was a lot of expertise involved. But I was thinking, let him speak. That's good. But he began to go further and further off the track in terms of the history of things and how the GBC. Then he tells me I don't know how the Ritviks became regular gurus and stuff like that, where it's all
Yeah.
very openly discussed. Then he said somebody said a mistake, he couldn't remember the name. He mentioned Pradumna and mentioned some other people that couldn't possibly be those persons. So it's important for him to. So why did he? I'm sorry that he left without saying anything. Did he say goodbye to anyone?
Yeah,
He
he said.
mentioned a chat. Sorry, Prabhu, have to leave now. See you later. Hare Krishna.
Oh, he did. Okay, because I didn't hear him say anything.
Yeah, it seems like we discussed this today, that these organizations like Madhu Pandit, even though they're doing wonderful service to Srila Prabhupada's movement, people who get in contact with them, they have this institutional mood that you must surrender to an institution, make an institution, or something like that. You saw his mood. He was saying that make an institution or join an institution, something to that degree.
I was saying, why don't all of us join together?
We are joined together. That's why we're talking here. He was saying a physical institution.
But that is not Prabhupada. That's not our purpose here with the League of 10,000 years. We're sort of trying to do the opposite. We're trying to act as individual individual reasoning that Prabhupada said in the charter.
Letter.
Yeah. And I use the word individual philosopher, which I think is okay, but I'd like to see if Prabhupada ever said it like that. I don't know if he used the word philosopher, but because I'm trained in Western philosophy, that's why I would do that. But the thing is that we need to develop individuality, not groupthink.
Yeah. See, he's coming from a groupthink. You can see Vashish Prabhu. He's a typical example of a groupthink, and it's not very concise and
It's
like
sort of it's sort of dogmatic.
Yes, you can see that. There's no free thinking here. He's like either this way or that way.
Yeah, but I think that if he gets on our side, and what does Banu think of him?
Banu was
Is
listening
Banu,
too.
is
Banu's still
Banu
here.
still there?
Yeah.
What does he? What did he think of what he was saying? Banu, you made some wonderful comments.
Yeah, Banu's ready.
I think we should go further. What he is talking about, we should dive deeper in the subject. We should talk about what he was talking about. We should continue the discussion so that the points would come out.
Good
Information
idea.
would be
Well, he was talking about. He was dealing with sort of a dogma surrounding, Prabhupada made Ritviks, and then they made themselves, it was a bigger plot than that, and Prabhupada was well aware of it. I mean, either he was well aware of it or he wasn't tricollegial.
Right.
And I think we tend to look at Prabhupada too objectively. If we looked at him subjectively, we would fall down on the ground in ecstasy and start shaking. But we don't. We look at him as Prabhupada, as an object, not as a force of a significant global force. Because we're comparing him to people that we've met or know about, like George Washington, Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru. We're comparing him to different people. But he's not comparable to anyone.
That's a that's a big we have a problem. I have a problem with that. He would think he's some ordinary person, a good manager, a great devotee. He's more than all that.
Exactly.
Not anything we can imagine. Can't even imagine.
We could say, well, what about how do you compare him to Bhakti Siddhanta? And my comment would be, you can't compare them. They were both individual thinkers.
Right.
You can't compare individual thinkers. One is
going
to become like the other. Prabhupada never became like his guru, and his guru never became like Gorkashodas Babaji. What?
Relating to individual philosophers, it's a letter. Every individual must have his opinion. That is the significance of individuality. But all such differences of opinion must coincide in Krishna. Letter to Mandali Bhadra.
Are you reading that? Are you reading that? Okay. I am questioning the use of the word opinion. I would like to say, why not substitute point of view? Opinion means
this is a letter.
Opinion could only exist on the bodily platform, because I'm taking all the knowledge that I have learned since I was born, and I've compiled it inside of myself, and from that I form my opinion. It's material. The point of view can be transcendental, because the jiva has a point of view. Being part and parcel of Krishna, he cannot be devoid of having a point of view. But we try to sell the jiva out and become the body with a point of view. I would recommend not going to the word point of view. Point of view, the real thing is, the real point of view is the jiva. But it's not, if you say point of view, people immediately jump into the ideas of the material platform.
So is it opinion is right, or the point of view? What I suggest?
Say again.
So what are you suggesting? Is it opinion or a point of view? Which word is right?
Ramachandra, can you help me understand?
He's saying that what is the right word, point of view or opinion in Prabhupada's that letter? You have to see the full context of what Srila Prabhupada is saying in that letter.
What did he use the word point of view?
No, he used the word opinion.
I'll read it again.
No. I know what you said. Every individual has an opinion, but all should rest in Krishna. But what is he saying? The full context of the letter. That
Uh,
letter,
that is
it's
the
just a,
significance of individuality. But all such
Well,
differences of
if he says
opinion must
everybody,
coincide in Krishna.
if he says that everybody has an opinion, he means they are speaking from the Kanista Adhikari platform.
Hmm. Okay.
We should try to not speak from the Kanista Adhikari platform if we're going to educate ourselves out of it.
right.
Hmm.
And Bhanu Prabhu, that letter probably has the full context, or
Is
just
that the
one.
same letter to Karandar?
No.
Mandali
Prabhu is
Bhadra.
totally
Letter to
no.
Mandali Bhadra.
Well, I mean, it's not fair for me to make a comment if I don't know what the letter says.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have to read the whole letter to Prabhupada. What context is speaking, who to is speaking to, why is he speaking.
Yeah.
I can
Who
check
did
up
he
the
write
letter in
to whom did he write the letter?
letter to Mandali Bhadra, Los Angeles, 28th July, 1969.
And who did he
What
write to?
monthly Bhadra? You have to get the whole letter, Bhanu Prabhu, so we can
Mandali
read it.
Bhadra?
Yes.
And what is the significance of you quoting the letter? What is the point of the letter?
About with relating to individual philosophers.
No, Prabhu, individual philosopher. Now let's look at that word. Individual philosopher can mean that your philosophy is different, my philosophy is different.
Yeah.
But when we talk about philosophy, Siddhanta, we are talking about Siddhanta, which is coming from Srila Prabhupada and the previous
Well,
acharyas.
yeah. Or you could say between Plato and Aristotle, different philosophers, but that's material.
Yes.
So shall we go off live for today?
Okay.
Should this be online?
I am simply your servant. I'm your humble servant. What else can
No,
I do?
No, yeah, yes,
let's
sir.
keep it online so people can see the
Okay.
whole conversation. So
Yeah, right.
Okay. Haribo.
so independent philosopher. So we'll need to verify independent philosopher because Prabhupada say like we can use women try to be independent, but that is not an independent thinking. Philosophy can mean
Well,
many
yeah, that's
philosophies.
a good point. Yeah. Because
Philosophy. Go ahead.
independent means not dependent.
Yes.
Now, when he probably said women like to be independent, means they don't want to depend on their husbands or their fathers or whatever,
Yes.
something they want to be independent, meaning they don't want to follow anybody except their own moods and instincts and impulses and desires. So, independent in terms of philosophy means obviously that you're not depending on somebody else's point of view, but you're depending on a point of view that you've cultivated yourself. And if we're talking on the spiritual platform, then we mean that the jiva is the generator of the independent philosophy or independent point of view, because the jiva is independent and that is his point of view. Whatever he perceives from the point of view of jiva. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Great. Well, this is amazing. This was quite a get together tonight.
Yeah, that's why I was not saying anything. I was like, let it continue and see where it goes. So everyone.
Now, just I would like your guidance. Was I too dominating with him?
No, you were very patient and you listened to him. And when he was going off track, then you kind of stepped in and made things clear, which was great because these types of conversation other people will have, meaning that if they are to come online and if they hear this, then it's going to be the same
Yes.
thing for them coming and arguing the same points in this way.
Exactly. Thank you. That's very good.
So
I didn't want him to go off at an angle that would then get repeated as truth if it wasn't exactly the way things actually were. And you know, I've had to be incredibly careful, Moon and Virgo on board, is that I have to be incredibly careful because I have to be sure that what I'm hearing, even from my buddies, that it's not made up by my buddies, that it's actually what happened. So I've had to be very careful. Needless to say, I'm sure there's plenty of areas where I'm mistaken.
You only had to be transparent via medium to convince.
Well, that's impossible. Yes, why not? Transparent via medium means you're neither adding nor subtracting.
Yeah, this is where the age factor and the experience comes into play that we don't have. So he shouldn't.
Well, it's not so much age as it's age only in terms of speaking from which decade, which part of the 20th century, you know?
Right. And you being physically present there.
I was there.
Yeah. And you're in the midst of the whole thing, and you created that book also. So he was probably like, oh, he helped create and finance the book. Then so he was like, oh.
Well, I'm sure that book is good. And what was he saying? The spiritual master and the disciple, did he say?
What was he saying? I don't remember.
I thought it was
the book name is saying. Some name.
I forget the name.
Master, not the. Did it have Prabhupada in the title?
No, it's the something.
But not the spiritual master and the disciple. There's a lot of books full of quotes. There was a book written called The Spiritual Master and the Disciple, compiled by the followers of the new gurus who tried to write a book to show how the new gurus were actually gurus. But the book went against them in the end because it showed how the gurus were not gurus. So they didn't ban the book, but it was flooding they were flooding everywhere when the gurus first came out, so that people would understand what a guru really is. And then later on, when it began to work against the ISKCON gurus, they made sure it was never published again.
It's like unless you present what is handed down from the paramparas, it is subject to the 4 mistakes, 4 defects.
Yes.
One is tends to commit mistakes, tends to cheat, senses are imperfect, and is illusion. So they would fall into the trap.
The Kanistadakari isn't even trying not to be mistaken. He just wants to go along. What is they call it? You go along to get along.
Yes.
Or you get along to go along. You just do what everybody else does. That's the Kanistadakari. You do what everybody else does. But in the midst of that, he's being uplifted by jagyas. He's uplifted by kirtan. He's uplifted by artiks. He's uplifted by prasadam taking. And prasadam cooking. And he's uplifted by everything he does in a temple if the temple is being run even 20% okay. What to speak of 80 or to 100% okay. So our job is to rescue the temples so that they don't sink below 20%.
Yeah. So shall we conclude for today, Prabhu? Time.
Let's do it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada.
Jai, glories to
Glories to Prabhupada.